You've been saying that you want to write and publish your book since forever, and I hate that for you. Because if you're like me, you know that writing is part of your calling and assignment on your life. And so not doing it is not only being disobedient to what you're supposed to be doing, but it's also disrespectful to the audience that's waiting on what you have to share. If you're new here, my name is Katie Bennett. I am a best-selling author, the founder of Lexicon Presents Publishing, and your host for Drafts Don't Count, because they don't. Before we get into this week's content, I do feel like it's important to note that if you're watching this, you're going to see the same setup and get up in this episode and the next one, because this episode came kind of spur of the moment. And I want to preface this with this understanding that this episode is just as much for you as it is for me, because some of us don't have this idea of wanting to become a published author because we think it's easy or we think it's a fast way to become rich and famous. Some of us started doing this because we had a gift and a talent that has been tormenting us a majority of our lives. And so we know that we were not given this talent and this ability to string simple words together to create complex thoughts and ideas just to sit on it. We know that it was called to be a testimony, to help other people walk into healing and deliverance. And we know that, and that's why sometimes things get a little challenging or things get a little difficult, and it makes it easy to just kind of sit in your emotions and sit where it's comfortable, just because we're not ready to do the work attached with the assignment and calling. So before we get into this, I feel like I need to put this disclaimer. Whether you and I believe the same or not, whether we read out of the same book or we hold ourselves to the same standards of where we put our worship, I want you to understand that I'm in no way, shape, form, or fashion trying to convert you to my way of thinking. I'm just sharing with you what has worked for me and understanding a concept. So I was reading the Bible, and in the Bible, there's the story of Jonah. And if you're unfamiliar with it, let me just give you kind of the Katie standard version.
Again, don't let the message and where it's coming from negate the fact that you still need to hear this and accept this in your spirit, especially if you know you're called to share this story.
Jonah was told to go somewhere and do something. He didn't want to do it, and he allowed his personal feelings to turn him into a place where he was willing to be disobedient. And one of the things that really stuck out to me with this story is it was a reminder that if it's supposed to be you that is supposed to do something, there are people waiting on you. And there is a way in which your whole life will become uncomfortable until you do what you're supposed to be doing. And for a lot of us, that's the case. If you know that you can put words together in a way that doesn't make sense, like I have been receiving accolades and awards even before I really understood the magnitude of what I was being celebrated for. Right? So with that information, that is a gift and a talent that is not mine. And it is my obligation to be a good steward over that gift and that talent, because there's a lot of things that have gone on in my life that I now have wisdom and knowledge that I can teach from a space where I'm not emotionally invested. And more importantly, somebody can find healing from hearing my story. So let's get back to the story. He didn't want to do it because his personal feelings were involved. So as a result of it, he's running away from what he was supposed to do. He goes on a ship, and these people are like,
hold on, it is crazy on here. Which one of y'all are not doing what you're supposed to be doing? Which one of y'all is being disobedient, ducking out, hiding out?
And the people on the ship realize it was Jonah. And they're like, you know what? You got to go. They threw that man overboard. And that's how we get the story of Jonah and the whale. They threw that man overboard. I remember during my study time, I was like, if this person was called and they had talents in such a way that you literally tormented this person and the people around them until they did what they were supposed to do, why is their story only 4 chapters? That was something that was truly unsettling to me, because if they're so special to you, why did they just kind of get in and get out with their personal testimony? And it made me realize that he was met. The Creator gave him provisions after he did what he was supposed to do. And in that moment, it was just to let you know, like, hey, I see you. I recognize this isn't easy, but you did it and you can continue to keep doing it. So now let's move along. Provisions were given. When those provisions were moving, He was supposed to move with it and he didn't. He sat there stuck in his feelings, and that's why we only got the 4 chapters. And so even though this wasn't an original part of the season, I felt like this needed to be a special episode because I know for a fact I also deal with this. Sometimes life can become so overwhelming. It could be so daunting. It could be so scary. It could be so overwhelming that we're like, I don't have time to write this freaking book. I don't have time. Leave me alone about it. Stop giving me these dreams about it. Stop letting me daydream about it. Stop letting people ask me about it. I've been there. Y'all, I turned off keywords for Charge It to the Game in my own email accounts because I got tired of people reaching out to my personal email, reaching out to the main business email, reaching out to emails that don't even have anything to do with it, trying to figure out what's happening to the next part of the Charge It to the Game series. I got tired of it. And then life be lifing. And you're like, yo, actually, what I think is comfortable is really uncomfortable. I don't like what I see daily. I don't like that my disobedience is felt by the people around me. I don't like that I'm not living the life that I know I can have. And it's a lot of the fact because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If you know that you've been tried by fire, you have a testimony that is out of this world, that has the ability to free people from bondage, and you're choosing to be disobedient to that because you are only caring about your own feelings, your own time, your own resources, you're selfish. And I don't know any other way how to put that. And that's a hard pill to swallow because, like I said, I'm talking to not just y'all, but to me. I didn't tell y'all this when we originally started the season, but this is only an 8-episode season, which means you now have less episodes with me than you had previously. Another thing I didn't share with you, because I know when you lead with too much information, you will freak people out. But the great Stephen King says it only takes 90 days to write a book. So if we do that in easier terms, that means it only takes 3 months or 12 weeks for you to put a book together. We're more than halfway through our time together. You are now 4 weeks in. So if we're going to that standard, you should be a third of the way through this manuscript. So if you're not, I want you to realize and sit with yourself and recognize that you're playing with yourself far more than you realize. And not only are you playing with yourself, you're playing with your gifts, your talents, and the people attached to you that need to heal with you sharing your testimony. So if you're listening to this episode and you don't have a third of that manuscript written, now is the time for you to start really digging deep into yourself, because we don't have that much time left in the season. There's literally only a couple more episodes. So now this is that checkpoint where you have to assess and recognize and realize that what you're doing isn't enough. If you're only allowing this 30-minute section when you and I meet once a week, if this is the only time that you're setting aside time to write, you need to be ramping it up. You need to now make your deadline different. Maybe instead of 1 page a day, you commit to 2 pages every single day. If you don't have a third of a manuscript written right now, you're behind. So I said all of that to say this. Consider this your invitation to rise up and to recognize that your story has more impact than you realize. Maybe you've seen a dream or you've experienced a daydream that made it so real for you that you know that it is going to require a different version of you to step into the season or to step into that person that accomplishes the why or that finishes the book. I'm here to tell you that's for all of us. All of us recognize that there's a different version of us that has to be out there marketing and promoting that. You don't get to that version of you without doing the work. If you're not a third of the way through with that book, 30 minutes once a week is not going to get you there. If we're being honest, 30 minutes every day at this point may not be enough to get you there. Maybe you need to take the time that you use scrolling through your phone or watching stuff on TV. Maybe you need to substitute it and say, this week I need to continue my habit of 30 minutes, but I need to sacrifice that time somewhere else so that I can arrive to this third of the book. Because once this season wraps up, that means we'll be at the end of 2 months, which means that you should only have a third of the way left to go. So if you're not on track, get to writing.